from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Friday night edition of the program, live and national. Welcome, welcome, welcome. A blessing to be with you. And, of course, today's the big day. As you know, lots of discussion about this. Trump and Vladimir Putin meeting at the Kremlin. If you want to join us on the topic, you know the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And lots of expectations, lots of things were said, lots to discuss. Let me see, I took some notes on this stuff, and I wanted to share it with you. Of course, there was some information that the White House put out just a little while ago regarding discussion around NATO forces and what it would look like as part of this agreement for NATO to potentially defend Ukraine despite not being a NATO member. Now, I don't know how realistic or how accurate or how much that is actually going to happen, but I know that's part of the discussion. Ceasefire terms and the framework for a ceasefire have begun. They're working that out. President Trump alluding to a lot of progress being made. Honestly, the one who seemed more adamant about a positive outcome was Vladimir Putin. He seemed very convinced, very confident that they were moving in the right direction. At one point, Putin even saying that naturally Ukraine's security will be assured. Now, I don't know why it would be a natural assumption that their security would be assured when he's literally the one that is focused on this incursion into Ukraine. So it leads me to believe that he's serious, again, unless he's full of it. And I don't think that he's full of it. But it definitely seemed cordial and collegial, and the relationship seemed intact. Better than, I think, what we saw with Zelensky. And probably because we're not spending money on Putin. And I think Putin wants to make that money that he's potentially losing with the United States, taking some of his oil money. So that's part of what's going on there. I have a little bit of audio for you. Let me see which one I'll start with. I think we'll start with, we've got a translation of Vladimir Putin at the historic summit in Anchorage, Alaska. Cut number 14. Check this out.
Sooner or later, we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue, naturally, under the condition of serious and painstaking work. And this work has been done in general. Me and President Trump have very good direct contact. We've spoken multiple times. We spoke frankly on the phone. And special envoy of the president, Mr. Witkoff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time. And you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand this history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation. However strange it may sound in these conditions, we have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, We're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict, and we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we're prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine.
So you heard the clip there, Vladimir Putin going on and on and on, and it seems like they want to do this thing. They want to go in the right direction. How far they're going to go, it's not just clear yet, but I think we're going to get somewhere with this. It's going to take a while for sure, but we're going to get somewhere. Now, President Trump, which I thought was really cool, in true Trumpian fashion, right? He showed a lot of strength. I mean, number one, he's just physically larger than Putin, and that was very evident in the way they set up the stage and the podiums and the red carpet walkthrough. And it was, if I had to guess, strategic, to let him know, hey, I'm the big guy here, in more ways than one. But also having a flyover of stealth bombers, F-22s, it was a masterpiece of marketing, right? It was a masterpiece in communications, I think, a master class in negotiating. And again, this isn't a show being put on just for Putin, although he can enjoy it. It's a show for all world leaders. Right, when you meet with the president of the biggest country in the world in landmass, I believe Russia's the largest country out there, other countries are going to look at this. And again, this is part of why I always think Trump is great at what he does. He's really good at this because he's good at negotiating. He's tough but fair. He's very firm in his positions. And he doesn't miss on the marketing aspect. He doesn't miss on the communications piece. He makes sure that this is that the optics are in place, that everything looks the way it needs to look, and he's very careful with that stuff. And I believe he was, and this could have been a concession or a request from the Russians, but no questions were taken in this room filled with press, and I think again that was a good thing. It's kind of how you control the flow of information so that it doesn't get spun out of control and nobody creates a spectacle, right? You let them know, hey, look, this is the deal. And moving forward, I'm sure we'll have a lot of question and answer because you want to have access to the press, of course. But no questions, and I think they were both very informative. Just the one clip I played for you of Putin was a couple of minutes. So all in all, things are looking up. Now, we've got some analysis tonight. We're scheduled to speak with the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, scheduled to be with us in about a half hour or so. We're also scheduled to speak with Major General Bob Dees. Bob Dees is a retired Army general that has spent more than 3 decades in the military and has a lot of experience, in particular with foreign affairs and a lot of work within the Department of Defense. So we're going to get his perspective on today's discussions, today's historic peace summit between El Trumpito and, of course, Vladimir Putin. And then it's the 35th anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I thought it'd be fun to speak with someone that the fans of the movie, and I was a fan growing up of the movie that came out in 1991, I believe. The girl who blows the big bubble. She's always been an enigma. People didn't know who she was. She was uncredited in the film, but she's an actress from New York. I met with her in studio, and I'm going to bring you into that conversation in a little bit. But Russia is what we're talking about right now, plus your calls, 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible. And our international context, for example, between the far east of Russia and the west coast of the U.S. Overall, it's very important for our countries to turn the page.
Very important for our countries to turn the page. Again, that's a translated version of what Vladimir Putin was saying in Russian. And we're going to get to that, plus some of President Trump's comments. But right now, I want to bring in our guest. Major General Bob Dees retired from the United States Army after serving 31 years, commander of the U.S.-Israeli Combined Task Force for Missile Defense. He's the head of the National Center for Healthy Veterans in Virginia right now. General, welcome back, sir.
Well, good to be with you, Rich.
Thank you. And I'm sure there's plenty to discuss. We have some time to get into it. The summit, I think a lot of people were expecting, from one side and from another side. I think some people were thinking they were going to come out, holding hands and say, all right, the war's over, everybody go home. I think there were others that were thinking this is going to be a very long and protracted effort and that they were going to be there for many, many hours. And I think we landed somewhere in the middle where they came out and it wasn't that long of conversation. And it seemed relatively positive. At least that's my take. What's yours?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, first of all, Rich, it was a courageous action by our president, and it was on a good footing in that it was in Alaska, which Russia used to have, and it was with B-2s and stealth F-35s flying overhead, and so the atmospherics and the dominance, if you will, of the U.S. message and the Russian president coming to us was important. Uncertain
Before
results.
You go on, I want to ask you a little bit about that dominance. Because, again, I look at that from the political perspective, working in politics for a little bit, and I think that's good messaging. It's good for everybody around the world to see that we're projecting strength. But, hearing you talk about it, it sounds like it's more of a military strategy.
Well, I think deterrence is important, and deterrence works across all elements of national power. So, yes, military, but economic. Our economic strength. And in that particular setting, it was just the venue that would allow the president to highlight military strength and make a good point. And clearly with that B-2 bomber that did the Iranian raid or the same type of plane, that was an important symbol in itself. So there's, I don't think it was lost on anybody that it was well orchestrated in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you pointed out uncertain results. I agree with that. President Trump had said, 2 minutes he'll know, and it wouldn't have surprised anybody for him to walk out, and that would have been a real failure. But they did talk for 3 hours. At the press conference they had, you've probably heard the same thing I heard. It was very inconclusive. President Trump's doing the Hannity interview right now that's revealing a few additional things about a second meeting that Zelensky and Putin will meet is the plan. And then Trump says he'll attend it if they want him to attend, which is that's the most information we've had on the second meeting thus far. And then I would surmise that after a second meeting, if there's still no ceasefire, then we're into strong economic pressure, sanctions, et cetera, to leverage Russia into a decision.
This is a topic of discussion we've been having for several days. It's my thinking that the reason we even have Putin at the table right now asking for this meeting and willing to negotiate is because we had no leverage before. I think Joe Biden left President Trump in a kind of a leverage-less situation, and we were able to get some with some of the economic strength that we're garnering with tariffs and whatnot, and B, with this latest deal with the European Union with Ursula von der Leyen, where they agreed to purchase $750 billion of energy from the United States, which would have likely gone to Putin. And I think that was maybe the wake-up call for him, at least from my perspective. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was interesting first that Putin himself was talking about how the war would not have occurred had Trump been in office. So that was
what do you make of that?
Well, that's quite an indictment. I don't know all the details, but Putin may have just been schmoozing President Trump, or it may have been, it may be a valid point, a strong point on his part as well. But that was interesting that he laid that out so graphically. Regarding leverage, I think we do have powerful economic leverage, and in contrast, way back there was Gazprom, I believe it was, and the pipeline across Europe and all those things that were going to Russia that previous administrations had not deterred or stopped, and now we've gone a totally different direction with the EU deal, with LPG, liquid petroleum. That is, there's a lot of U.S. Use of that now to get energy into Europe. So I think we have tremendous leverage, and then sanctions and secondary sanctions you've probably talked about that quite a bit, but placing sanctions on people that do business with Russia is a very significant leverage, and that's just the economic element of national power, along with military, along with a lot of other things.
General, I think that given the stakes, to me, it seems like Putin really needs to make a deal, because he's been kind of banking on selling his oil and just dealing in the little fiefdom he's created, which isn't that little to begin with. And with the United States kind of countering with the energy proposal, this obviously slows down his war machine. Do you think that can put a permanent pause to this, or is this something temporary because he's feeling financial pain?
Well, I don't think apparently he's not feeling enough financial pain yet, Rich, because he hasn't agreed to ceasefire or some of the things that I'm sure the president's asking him to do. But with a second meeting, if he continues to sort of stand up on the inside, then that's I think when the hammer will fall, and that's probably going to take that before Putin, based on his record, will in fact bend the knee, so to speak, and make a deal. His whole history is to be obstinate about that, and he's even agreed to ceasefires in places such as Syria, and then he just quickly recanted on that. So we have no reason to think that he will do the right thing unless he's under incredible pressure to do so, which is probably getting ready to happen before too long.
All right, good analysis. We're going to continue the conversation straight ahead with General Bob Dees. He is retired from the United States Army after 30 years and serving as a deputy commander of the V Corps in Europe, U.S. commander of the Joint U.S.-Israeli Task Force for Missile Defense, and a lot more. Keep it locked right here. We're going to come back and continue this conversation and see what's Ukraine's next move. General, stick with us. Amigos, we're coming right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
The best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones, that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Ratcliffe. Thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. It made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all. But we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax. But what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
That, of course, President Trump today saying we tried to get there, but we didn't get there. The deal has not been reached as of yet. I also have a clip from the Fox News interview that we're going to play in a little bit, but I want to bring back our guest, Major General Bob Dees, who's spent more than 3 decades in command and staff positions in the United States Army. General, I wanted to take this in the direction of what Ukraine's next move is, because I feel like I've been a big supporter of Ukraine. I want them to win. I want them to be well. I want them to put this behind them. But I feel like their president isn't as adamant about those things sometimes as I am. Now, maybe I'm wrong in thinking that, but what do you think their next move is strategically?
Yeah, well, it's we heard the president say, Rich, he was calling Zelensky. I wish I was a church mouse in that to know what was really going on. The president did make reference again in the ongoing Hannity interview that the ball was in Zelensky's court and to, quote, make it happen. And, all I can draw from that is that Zelensky does have negotiation with his own parliament and with the will of the people in Ukraine. And if there's some concessions or sacrifices to be made, then Zelensky's the one that's got to broker that. So the president made me believe that there's some type of accommodation that Zelensky's going to be required to make. I don't know what that is. Could be land concessions. That's the obvious ones that Zelensky has said he would not do. But we're not sure what else that might be. And then, Rich, you think about the Ukrainian people. Good night. The stuff that they have gone through over the last really 10 years is incredible. And just think of the impacts on the families, and think about the 19,000 plus children that apparently have been taken away to Russia. So there's some really, you talk about deep-seated feelings and bitterness and anger. It's going to take, generations to overcome all of that. So to get security guarantees to Ukraine so that they think that they are protected, they won't be, if Putin breaks a ceasefire, that they won't be overwhelmed by that. All of this is important Ukrainian calculus, and they're going through that right now. I don't envy their president. I don't know about whether he's a strong enough guy or the right guy. I do admire his courage, and he's fought a long fight, and he's kept them in the fight and done some pretty brilliant things. But sometimes the person to fight the war is not necessarily the person to bring the peace. So we'll see how all that works.
Yeah, well put. Now, let me ask you about the step moving forward. If should they not, right? There's some discussion, I should say, that I'm hearing about part of the potential ceasefire deal or this arrangement is for there to be security assurances provided by the United States and NATO, despite Ukraine not being a NATO member. Do you think that's doable? I mean, it seems to me like Trump has a lot of sway right now with NATO, and he could probably pull something like that off. I'm just wondering if Putin would go for that. I know he's been very adamant against Ukraine getting NATO membership.
Right. I think President Trump would be very averse to pulling the Article 5 trigger, meaning that all for one for all, and they go in all in for Ukraine not being a NATO member. But I have heard reports that, for instance, the United Kingdom, not as wearing their NATO hat, but wearing their national hat, would offer to go in and be peacekeeping forces, so to speak, or help maintain the ceasefire. There's been similar suggestion that U.S. troops would go, but I would be very surprised if President Trump would allow U.S. troops to go into a conflict zone to do that. I think he's averse to doing that. He's trying to go the opposite direction with some of with conflicts.
Now, and I know it's all speculation at this point, but what would something like that look like based on your experience of a single country providing, not a part of a coalition, but the UK, for example, providing this peacekeeping effort? What would that look like? How does that work structurally?
Yeah, well, a lot of that is one, you got to figure out what's the plan and how do you identify lines of demarcation. So if you're going to have a ceasefire, that means you don't shoot at each other, but more importantly, you also have lines of demarcation. So they basically put them in their own corners if you're thinking about a boxing match.
Yeah.
And then you have a referee in the middle that sort of arbitrates, and it's very difficult in a real conflict to get everybody to salute and stop firing at once and doing this. So there'll be many violations that need to be arbitrated. And you do everything possible as a force, as the intermediary, to prevent things from going high order again. And so the messaging is very important in that type of conflict, so that you have to keep everybody well informed, so that rumors don't prevail, and so that one side doesn't assume that the other side is going all in again. So it's a very complex operation, but whether it's in Bosnia or whether it's in Africa, many places, whether it's in Korea, DMZ, there are all sorts of areas like this around the world that have lines of demarcation that have resulted after there was a hot war going on.
Makes a lot of sense. General, any, final input on this that we might be missing that we need to glean from your experience?
Well, I just, to be honest, in the good book, there's a verse that says, a soft answer turns away wrath. So I think the approach that President Trump has taken to respect Putin, you respect his history and respect how he has killed hundreds of thousands of people. And yet you also, if you're going to do negotiations, you respect him as a person. I think Trump did that, and I think it's a historic summit. We'll see where it goes from here, but you got to start somewhere, and I think we saw a very successful start to a process today.
Outstanding. General, I want to thank you for joining us and making yourself available this evening on the aftermath here of the historic summit. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. Godspeed to you, sir. Enjoy the weekend.
You too, Rich. Thanks so much. Take care.
God bless. And amigos, we continue with your calls, your thoughts, your opinions. What happens here? Where do we go? What's the next step for Ukraine? What's the next step for Russia? I want to hear from you. New York, California, where you at? Who else do we have? We got lots of people from Oregon calling in, from Pittsburgh, a lot of our bigger markets. I want to hear from everybody. If you're out there, give me a call, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
The meeting was a very warm meeting. You know, he's a strong guy, he's tough as hell and all of that. But the meeting was a very warm meeting between two very important countries, and it's very good when they get along. I think we're pretty close to a deal. Now, look, Ukraine has to agree to it. Maybe they'll say no, because Biden handed out money like it was candy, and Europe gave him a lot of money. You know, we gave him $350 billion. Europe gave him much less, but still a lot, $100 billion.
And that is President Trump in the aftermath of the summit in a meeting, in an interview with Sean Hannity on the Fox News channel just moments ago. And I want to get some reaction to everything that happened today in Anchorage, Alaska, from the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy. Welcome, sir.
Hey, it's great to be here, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Governor. And obviously, you're trying to do everything you're doing in your state, and you've got plenty going on. And then you hear that the president's coming, and, oh, wait, he's bringing a guest. He's bringing somebody who's wanted by the ICC, Sergei Lavrov, all these other people that aren't even allowed to be in the United States. I'm guessing you had a little bit of a hectic day.
It's been a very busy week preparing for this. But again, we're happy to host. And sometimes, when the president calls upon somebody to work together, like he did with Putin, and Alaska is a place where I think it was appropriate, given our location on the globe, our distance from Moscow, our distance from Washington. And again, sometimes you've got a situation like we do with Vladimir Putin, where he's not wanted in most of the world. But if you're going to stop a war, you got to be able to have a discussion somewhere at some time, and sooner than later. And so that's what happened today.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. And I think, again, I was talking about this with General Bob Dees a little while ago. With respect to Alaska being strategic in that it used to be Russia, right?
Yeah.
The United States buying it from Russia. So I think that's good. And I think Putin oftentimes alludes to the United States and Alaska, specifically as being neighbors. So it seemed like the right place. What was the vibe like?
Well, it was, we were proud to be Americans, I can tell you that, standing on the tarmac. And, we went in to talk with the president on Air Force One, but I've never seen so many F-22s, F-35s, and B-2 bombers in one spot at one time. And I have to believe it also made an impression on our the Russian visitors, to be honest with you. But Alaska is the fort for North America. There's a lot of forts in the United States, but there's nothing like Alaska. We are actually on the frontier. Russia's 2.5 miles away. The Chinese warships ply the Bering Sea, go right past Alaska. And we're under the North Korean missile umbrella. And so we're an active fort. We're the guardians for North America, for the United States and Canada. And we live this stuff every day. We have Russian flyovers probably a couple times a month. They're escorted out of our airspace. Again, we can see the Chinese ships going through. And Alaska, with its location in the Arctic, the North Pacific, and the Western Pacific, really uniquely positions us, unlike any other state in the United States. Most people understand we're an Arctic state, and they know that we're the North Pacific, but they don't realize how far west we are. We are 1,000 miles closer to Australia than California is. And so we're the northernmost state, the westernmost state, and part of the Aleutians go across the international date line, so we're the easternmost state as well. There's no other state that can compare.
Governor, a little inside baseball for everybody that's listening. The obviously you're not going to tell us everything you talked about with the president, but give us a sense of what's going on when you're meeting with the president. What was his mood like? He seemed very, very confident and very calm in the video that we've seen.
I've had a lot of meetings with President Trump. He stops here on his way to Asia. His first term, his first 4 years, I think we met 3 or 4 times here at the fort when he was refueling on Air Force One. There's a lot of things that I admire about the president. One of the things that came out today, again, as you can see when we were talking to him, is he's very confident that practically any problem can be solved. A lot of politicians want to stay away from certain problems. A lot of politicians want to excuse away solutions to problems. The thing about President Trump is there's not a problem I've ever seen him encounter in which he shies away from. As a matter of fact, sometimes the bigger the better. And I think really he believes that the big, enormous problems that people do shy away from, oftentimes they're the most important when it comes to solutions. So when we went on board, we talked about a couple of things. And what we really brought up early on was these rumors that the president or others were going to deal away Alaska's minerals to Russia, or that there was going to be a deal made as part of this potential peace with Ukraine that the Russians would transport our LNG on their ships. And when we got in there with the secretaries and Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and others and Steve Witkoff, we asked them that question, and they said it's just a rumor. There's nothing to it. There's no discussions about that. So for us, it helped clear the air because we were getting a lot of questions on if Alaska, in some form or fashion, through trade, was going to be part of this deal.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think a lot of people don't know. I know I didn't know until I was doing a little research for our conversation about how Alaska is like number one when it comes to, or it has all 50 of the, or 49 of the 50 rare earth minerals. I didn't know that.
We have 49 of the 50 rare earths. We have the only oil field, the supergiant North America, Prudhoe Bay. We have the largest graphite find in North America. We have one of the largest nickel finds in the world. We have one of the largest lead zinc mines on the planet, largest national forests. List goes on, more coastline than the rest of the U.S. put together, second busiest cargo airport in the United States, third busiest in the world. And we're home to the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, which was an engineering marvel in the 70s and is still pumping oil, pumped about 18 billion barrels of oil. And we pioneered LNG export for the world. People don't understand that. It was Alaska in 1968 that sent LNG to Japan for 50 years. Uninterrupted.
Governor, do you? I have to take a pause here, but do you think you could stick around and tell us a little bit more about the energy prowess of Alaska?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, stand by for just a moment. Folks, we're coming right back with Governor Mike Dunleavy from Alaska.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We continue with Governor Mike Dunleavy from the great state of Alaska on the ground today on the tarmac with President Trump at the historic summit. And, Governor, I want to make sure you have a chance to let everybody know how they can learn more about everything that you're doing in Alaska. Where do they go? How do they find out more?
Go to X at Gov Dunleavy, X at Gov Dunleavy, and you can learn more about Alaska because what we're finding is we're the 49th state, but it's still a mystery to many. They love to visit here. They have a surface understanding of the history and the resources, but you got to learn more. It's a very deep state in many respects, very complicated state, and one of the most unique in the country.
Well, Governor, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to have you back whenever you're available because there's a lot to learn about Alaska, and I appreciate your time, sir. Godspeed.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me.
You bet. And amigos, we continue your thoughts, calls, and opinions coming up straight ahead. Open phones across America. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the program, Friday Night Live and National. And here's the phone number if you want to join us. Open phones across America is going to be kicking off right now. 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And President Trump and Vladimir Putin had their, what's it called? The big summit today. And what is it called? It was called the Trump-Putin Summit, Pursuing Peace. And President Trump making some comments. Of course, President Putin making some comments as well. After their 3-hour sit-down, they had a joint press conference, not taking questions, but making statements after the fact. And I've got some clips of that. I want to give you the first one here. This is Russian President Vladimir Putin, cut number 15, discussing some of the outcome of the meeting. Check this out.
Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible. And our international context, for example, between the Far East of Russia and the West Coast of the U.S. Overall, it's very important for our countries to turn the page.
That, again, Russian President Vladimir Putin. And he went on, and I'll play a little bit more of that in a little bit. But talking about the outcome of it, some of the things that I thought stood out from this conference between the two presidents, El Trompito and Putinsky, are this. There's been some discussion after the fact, and the White House talking about it very vaguely, about how NATO forces are going to be involved. I'm wondering, what does that look like? Will we see NATO become the de facto police? Will they become the peacekeepers? Now, our discussion with General Bob Dees indicated that there might be a third party, perhaps the United Kingdom or some other interested party that would serve as a peacekeeper, making sure that everybody is informed and that everybody is on the same page and not shooting at each other as, you know, the result of the ceasefire. But we don't know. Right, we don't know if that's going to be a thing, but imagine that, right? Imagine saying, look, you have this big beef with Ukraine becoming a member of NATO, so they're not going to become a member of NATO, but they are going to become protected by NATO. Should you mess with them, it's going to trigger, you know, a response from NATO. I don't know. I don't know if that's doable. It doesn't sound like, you know, it's kind of like, hey, look, I'm not going to be in the gang, but I got support from the gang. And I don't know if that's a thing or not a thing, but I do know that that's part of the discussion that's going on. So that's part of it. The other part of it that I think I heard that I thought was interesting was how they've began to put together the framework for a ceasefire. Now, this is interesting because, again, you know, rudimentarily speaking, you stop shooting, right? That's the beginning of the framework of the ceasefire. Stop shooting you, I stop shooting me, we stop shooting each other, right? That type of thing. Of course, I'm, you know, oversimplifying, but that was also part of what they talked about. There was also some discussion about, from President Putin himself, saying that this war would not have happened if President Trump was in office at the time. and saying that that was true. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to why he said this. Did he say it to butter Trump up, to stroke his ego, to try and get something out of him? Did he say it to be provocative? Did he say it to be 100% honest? Because he realized that what Biden was doing was lending itself to this problem. I don't know the answer to that, but he did say it. That I know. And you guys heard it, and if you didn't hear it, I'll play you the audio shortly. And Putin also alluded to Ukraine's security being assured. He said, well, naturally, their security will be assured. And I said earlier, and I'll repeat it now, it's not natural, right? I don't think it's a natural assumption for the guy that did the invading to say, oh, well, obviously they're going to be okay. It's not obvious to anyone, sir. I don't believe that anybody thinks that their security is assured unless there is someone securing it other than whoever it is now, right? The relationship that they have with the United States and our, what seemingly was an endless cash cow of, just gift after gift after gift. Now it's the sale and the loan that we've given them. So maybe there's already some of this being done, and Putin kind of showed a little bit of his hand with that comment. I don't know, but could be just more political doublespeak and him trying to be smooth. And I think the big thing a lot of people took away was the show of strength, right? There was a tremendous show of strength by the United States military that was impressive. I mean, in speaking with General Bob Dees from the military perspective, telling me that it was both a show of strength economically as well as strategically, militarily, to show our might. And if you look at some of the footage of Vladimir Putin walking down that red carpet with President Trump as the stealth bomber and the F-35s, start doing that flyover, he breaks his neck looking up in the sky, and he almost, trips and falls down. It was really a thing. It was really a thing to watch. I would have suspected that he would have maybe glanced or, maybe even ignored it to be arrogant and be like, yeah, trying to show me your fancy planes, but he didn't. He seemed genuinely interested. And I got to say, I think Putin was very giddy, if that's a word I can use. He was giddy. President Trump giving somber comments. Trump is a funny guy. He's a wise guy. And he was neither of those today. He was a straight shooter today, and he was very humble, and he was very chill. And at the end saying, I'm looking forward to more of this. Hopefully we'll see each other again real soon. I think we will. And Putin says, and hopefully in Moscow. And that was kind of unexpected. His little English comment, did the whole thing in Russian. And then he comes out with some English at the end, and hopefully in Moscow. And he has this big cheesy grin on, like a kid in Chuck E. Cheese. And I thought that was interesting, right? Very similar to when President Trump went into the meeting with Kim Jong-un. He also seemed like a kid in a candy store with that ear-to-ear smile. So I think these guys, their day is made when they get to shake hands and share the stage with the American president. And I think for years, that has not been afforded to a lot of countries, so we could demonize them. And I'm not saying that they're saints and that we're demonizing them falsely. I'm just saying so that we could. And B, so they could never have the satisfaction of saying, oh, yeah, look at my picture, with the president, and, we're improving our relations. And they would never give them that much leverage. Trump, on the other hand, he negotiates from an entirely different perspective. It's not, I'm going to prevent you from access. It's more like, no, I'm going to give you the access and enough goodwill to see if that brings about a positive change in you. And when you look at things that way, you've got to think, at least I do, it gives me pause, and I say, if someone is inaccessible to many and they come to you and they extend an olive branch and they extend their hand and they say, hey, how are you? Yeah, let me take you to lunch. And they show you some hospitality and they are very kind. Do you still want to hate on those people? Do you still, and if this is coming across as naive, maybe I'm not explaining myself well, but this is a concept that I first learned from Governor Chris Christie. And he often said, it's very difficult for people to hate you to your face. So part of his strategy was to be in people's faces and to be himself. And again, he's an affable person, a one-on-one in his retail politics. He's good at that. That's how he got elected twice. That's how he, raised the cost of health care for a lot of people, not raising it, but making them pay their fair share, but at a cost to them, where it was no longer at a cost to the taxpayer. And even after they had to pay more, they would still give him a standing ovation when he explained why, right? And I think that's a skill set that President Trump also has. And he uses it very strategically. And he says, look, no, I'm not going to play coy. No, you want to meet? Let's meet. I'm going to be nice to you, and I'm going to give you enough rope to hang yourself. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer type of thing. And I think it was the right way to play this. So kudos to President Trump on that one. And when we return, of course, some of your calls. We've got calls from Florida, Pennsylvania, Idaho, and more. But I also want you to hear a little bit of more from President Trump on the Fox News channel in an interview he did with Sean Hannity, as well as his remarks at the summit as well. We have a clip of that. So keep it locked right here. It's Rich Valdez. We're coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
At a press conference, the president of Russia stated something that you had stated many, many times, and maybe people, your political opponents, might have dismissed. But he said this war would not have taken place if you were president. Now, he did give you behind-the-scenes specific reasons why it happened under Biden. He did give you reasons.
Yeah, he did, but I know the reason. It's gross incompetence.
Gross incompetence is right. Again, President Biden literally stood by and allowed the Russian military to very painstakingly and very methodically, very slowly too, it wasn't a quick thing. They took at least a month to build up all their military might on the border there and basically just, flex. They were just flexing on him. And you think for a second, no, Biden's famous cut, and I don't know if I have it right now to play it, but he says, it might be a minor incursion. We don't know what they're doing. Like, he said it was okay for them to do a minor incursion. The minute he said that, and that's the gross incompetence that President Trump is talking about, not to mention everything else he did with the safety and security of our nation, like the border. That was the green light. And, of course, he opened the door. Putin walked right through it. Said, why not? This is my time. These guys aren't going to get involved. That guy's not going to play chicken with me. And he didn't. He let him do whatever he wanted until Trump comes around and he's like, look, you can't be doing this. You can't do this. And now Putin's like, all right, yeah, I know. But, you had that other guy here. So I'm doing what I got to do, man. And it's just, and he admitted it today in saying that this would not have happened if Trump was there. So I want to get your thoughts, your calls, your reactions, your opinions. The phone number is 833-482-5337. We're live on a Friday night. Give me a call, 833-4-VALDEZ. Let's hit the phones. I want to go to America's oldest radio station, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, KDKA in the building. Stuart, go right ahead, sir.
What a great job by President Trump. I'm really so proud of him. I can't remember an American president ever giving such a warm and gracious greeting to an international war criminal. I mean, watching that, one would forget that.
Well, you got to think Putin of the time that we had Gorbachev over. And again, this is a different approach, Stuart, right? So it's not necessarily one that's designed to appease haters or to appease critics. This is designed to get to peace. Stuart.
Hello?
Did I stun you with my intelligence? Go right ahead, sir.
Gorbachev was not a war criminal. Gorbachev did not traffic 20,000 Ukrainian children. Gorbachev does not have the blood of millions of his own people.
Let me ask you this. What is your suggestion? Your suggestion in dealing with the war criminal Putin?
Oh, you can meet with him and negotiate with him, but you don't have to exchange love letters and drool over him like he did with Kim Jong-un.
I didn't see any drool or love letters. I saw a squadron of stealth bombers and a 3-hour sit-down. Did we watch something different?
You had your cult goggles on, so it's hard for you to see these things.
Or did you have your hatred goggles on and not be able to see the positivity of this? Do you really think that we're not going to get to peace in 2-3 months from now?
Do you get
think
along
this is all
with
for
people,
show?
Do you get along with people that have the blood of millions
I'm asking
of
the
people on
questions.
their hands?
And I'm asking you if you think we're going to get to peace in 60 or 90 days.
Oh, yeah, when he throws Ukraine under the bus? Sure, I guess you could call that peace. I'm
So
sure
what
the
would
Ukrainians
what would you like to happen? Stop whining. You sound like a little girl. Just be a man and say, I want Trump to do this.
Okay, cultist. What would I like to see Trump do? Arm Ukraine properly and stand by our allies in NATO.
What did we do in the last sale of arms to Ukraine? That was not arming them properly?
We could be doing more.
What would you like to
Remember when
do?
Heggs
I'm
had
asking
stopped-
you a question,
remember when
and you're
Heggs-
failing to answer it every time.
We could be giving them more weaponry.
Like what?
Like I don't know, guns,
Like you don't
planes,
know.
missiles.
All right, Stuart. Next time, study before you get on with me, because you're not making any sense, and you want to throw shade on Trump. You want to call me a cultist. I'm going to call you the cultist of the stupid people, because clearly you're not even thinking. You just call here to complain for what? Without even an idea to offer. Good night, sir. Lester, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Oh, thank you for putting me on. Thank you. I want to say this. I think President Donald J. Trump is having way too much fun, and he's going on way too many cool adventures, and I'm starting to get envious.
You're jealous of all the fun. Well, Lester's jealous of all the success, and now you're jealous of all the fun. Listen, I get what you're saying. I meant the other guy, Stewart. This is, you're right. He seems to be doing so much. It's like a whirlwind of everything. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think Trump is really bothered by people dying. And that's always his motivation. Whenever people ask him questions, it's the singular answer he always gives. The killing has to end. And I think for too long, folks like Stewart in Pennsylvania are so focused on just not caring that, they're like more war, more fight, more war. And listen, I'm very hawkish myself. But at one point, Lester, we do have to take a page from Trump's playbook, like you said, and have a good time and let people live. Stop the killing. Lester, thanks for your call, my brother. Godspeed to you. Shout out to WTTB. We continue with the rest of your calls from Texas, Idaho, and more. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. It's open phones across America with me, Rich Valdez.
That I really appreciate what you're doing for people and their state of mind and their viewpoints on the airwaves every night. I really do appreciate it.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Almost 3 hours, and it was very extensive, and we agreed on a lot of points. I mean, a lot of points we're agreed on. But there's not that much. There's, one or two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached. Now it's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit. But it's up to President Zelensky. I think we are, and if they'd like, I'll be at that next meeting. They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. and myself, I guess. I didn't ask you about it. Not that I want to be there, but I want to make sure it gets done. And we have a pretty good chance of getting it done.
That, of course, President Trump in the post-mortem interview on the Fox News channel with Sean Hannity. You heard him. He said he'll be at the meeting, but the ball is in Zelensky's court. And good. Now, hopefully we don't fumble that ball. I want to hear what you guys have to say, your reactions to today's historic peace summit. Vladimir Putin, as the pendejo from Pittsburgh pointed out, a war criminal who was given a one-day waiver to set foot on U.S. soil in the name of peace, meeting with President Trump in Alaska. And your thoughts, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. Let's go to Dallas, Texas. A reminder, if you want to make a comment, we'll put you in the queue. If you want to disagree with me or troll me or be a pendejo, we move you to the front of the line. Bobby, Dallas, Texas, KLIF. Go right ahead.
Phenomenal job by Trump. Everyone was talking about his 10 million times to pedophilia and Jeffrey Epstein.
Now,
and
10
that he
million.
made a moron
Where do you
out
get
of
this
himself.
information from, Bobby?
Now that he made a complete fool of himself.
Bobby, hold
no
on.
one's talking
Let's
about-
play fair here. All right, you want to call talk radio and you want to say things about Trump. I don't know who you're trying to impress. Most of the people listening to the show like President Trump, number one. Number two, he wasn't there 10 million times. He was never on that island, period. Zero evidence about that. So why is that more important than all the people being slaughtered in Ukraine? Why are you so selfish? Go right ahead.
Yeah, the fact that he appeared with Epstein 1,000 or so
You have
times
no
and they
answer.
were
You
best
can't
friends.
speak for yourself, Bobby. You can't explain why you're more concerned with Trump and Epstein Island and talking your smack than the 19,000 children that were trafficked by Putin or the 2 million people that have been killed in this war. Don't you care about people?
Yeah, and the person responsible for all that, Trump gets
Who, you gonna
along
blame
great
Trump?
with them.
Are you going to blame
Yeah,
Trump
Trump
for
gets
this?
along. Yeah, Trump would have gotten
So what
along
did you
really
want
well.
Trump to do? Spit in his face?
If you knew someone that killed millions
Bobby,
of people,
what did
would
you want
boast
Trump
about-
to do? Again, I have to do it to everybody. It's like everybody here was raised without a dad. You have to put on your big boy pants, pick your wedgie, no panties in a bunch here. Be a man and answer the question, sir. What would you have Trump do? What would you do if you were in his shoes?
Stop rolling over and playing dead for Putin. That's what I would do.
So you think today inviting him to the United States, having a three-hour conversation with him where they're focused on peace, that's rolling over and playing dead where you come from?
Yeah, pretty much. And 10 years ago, you would agree with me, but you're in a cult now.
No,
And
I've been in my cult for a very long time, Bobby. And I got to tell you, what part of Dallas are you from where you sound like you're from the East Coast?
I don't care what your wife and kids say. I don't think you're in a cult, Rich.
Listen, brother, I hope you have a wife and kids because from the sounds of it, you sound like you're in your mid-50s. You sound like your waist size is close to 50 and your neck size is probably close to 20. And people like that don't have a very long time to live. So I wish you the best, sir.
Like Trump?
Trump's in way better shape than you, and he's rich. And he doesn't stay up late on Friday nights to call talk radio to talk a lot of smack. So you're like a two-time loser. Thanks, Bobby. Anyway, we continue. And we're having a good time tonight. Everybody who doesn't like Trump is getting online to talk to me, and that's good. I'll smack you down one by one. If you like Trump, you can call too. I don't care. Either way, I'm happy to take the calls. Keeps me up, keeps me going. It's Friday night, the end of the week. I was going to let my hair down, but the Pendejo hotline is open for you, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. Keep it coming. Let's go to Paul. Paul's in Boise, Idaho, giving us a call, streaming the show on richvaldez.com. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Jason, for taking my call. Thanks
You
for
bet.
the comebacks on these pendejos.
It's all in a day's work, sir.
You're killing me. Some people just absolutely insist on showing you the total lack of intelligence that they have in their body. And they do it on radio.
Yeah, hey, sometimes it's like that. You got to give them a chance. You got to give everybody all the rope in the world to hang themselves. I used to get rid of them quicker. Now I let them go. I give them 2 or 3 minutes. It's for like comic relief.
No, before Trump took off this morning, I spent a little extra time on my knees to make sure that he and the people involved in this thing, good or bad, maybe could find some equal ground. And that's kind of what I suspected would happen, but one can never be sure. And then, of course, there was some positive, motions made about that. And, we can't expect too much out of Putin, but, I guess the guy is a human being after all. But, this thing about Trump, it's unique. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in history.
Why do you say that? What specifically is unique in your opinion, Paul?
He's closing the wars down. Wars aren't going to be able to be had. They can have all the armaments left over, but they're not going to be able to use them on each other anymore because he's shutting them down. And to me, that's dangerous because there's a lot of money to be made in that business. You know what I'm saying?
Trump is a huge threat to the military-industrial complex. Well, the good news is what Trump did in the first administration, right? If you recall, a lot of our pendejo friends on the progressive left, they all said, if Trump gets elected, we're going to war with North Korea. If Trump gets elected, it's going to be World War III. I'm old enough to remember that. I'm sure that our friends in that were just calling remember that. But guess what happened in that first administration? That didn't happen. Matter of fact, he spent, I think, $700 billion on military, upgrading the military, restoring the military, because during the Obama years, it was decimated. And it's peace through strength. It's the Reagan mantra with the Trump, with the Trump spin on it, which is the economic piece. And let's make a deal. And that's pretty much how he approaches everything. It's let's make a deal. What do you need? What can I get you? Trump's an expert networker. I think this is part of the reason it's good to have a businessman in office, because you can avoid things. Something that General Bob Dees has said was that, it was Governor Mike Dunleavy, the governor of Alaska. He said, Trump always believes there's a solution to the problem. Whatever the problem is, he doesn't shy away from it. You know why? Because what do you do when you're building a skyscraper and you run into a problem? You fix it. You don't just go, oh, man, can't do this. Oh, boy, let's go back to the investors and ask for more money. You can't do those things. You've got to fix it. You've got to make it happen on time, under budget. So I think that skill set lends itself so well. Anyway, we're going to continue with our pendejos this evening. Paul, I thank you for the call. If you are interested in speaking with America tonight, the phone lines are open phone America, whether you agree, disagree. If you want to talk about this or anything else, happy to chat with you. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
We had a very good meeting today, but we'll see. I mean, it's you have to get a deal. We agreed on a lot of points. I want to see people stop dying in Ukraine, and that's what's happening. We're losing 5, 6, 7,000. They're Russians, mostly Russians, and they're Ukrainian soldiers. There's some people dying in cities and towns where they're trying to blow up missile manufacturers and other things in some cities. I don't know if you know what's going on there, but there are a lot of people dying. And if we can end that war, it would be very good. And I was very happy to hear him say if I was president, that war would have never happened.
All right, so we got calls coming in from all over the place, from Washington, from Houston, from Virginia. Let's see, where do we go here? I'm going to start with who's been on hold the longest. Doug. Doug is in Clifton, Virginia, WMAL. Doug, go right ahead.
Hey, Rich. Listen, Putin is a very, very bad person. But as Yitzhak Rabin, Prime Minister of Israel, said, you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. And there is no peace deal that's going to occur that's going to make everybody happy. But the longer this conflict, this war goes on, the more it's going to deteriorate and escalate to the point that Europe and the United States are going to get more involved, which we don't want to be. And the point is this: we've been involved with Iran. We're involved here with Ukraine and Russia. We don't want to be involved anymore. And who has been sitting on the sidelines, just being relatively ignored? China. We want this war between Russia and Ukraine to end. We do not want to drive Russia to a closer relationship with China. We want to keep them separated. So once we can end this conflict, we can focus on the growing threat from China.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I think you always got to keep an eye on China. And I think the good news is that we have such a versatile administration here where they fire on every cylinder, right? Like nobody's skipping a beat with immigration. Things are going on with immigration full speed ahead. Why? Because I think Trump did a great job in picking people, right? Picking special envoys, picking the right cabinet members, picking border czar, right, like Tom Homan, so that you have not only the secretary of DHS and the head of the Department of Justice, Pat Bondi, but you have more people like Homan and the right people on the ground. And I think that's why we've been able to get so much done in such a little bit of time. But you're right. You want to end these conflicts as quickly as we can. And I just want to remind everybody, and this is the obvious that's being restated, we're not at war with Russia, and we're not at war with Ukraine. We're simply trying to get them to stop being at war with each other. And the amount of criticism that the president gets for trying to end a war between two people that he did not start and he's only trying to finish is beyond surreal to me. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Doug in Clifton, really well put. Thank you for your call. Clifton, Virginia, WMAL. Shout out to you guys. That's my home when I'm in D.C. I always broadcast from WMAL. Great station, great hosts, great people. And let us continue. Houston, Texas, KSEV. Michael, go for it.
Yeah, until today, Steve Witkoff has been handling all the negotiations. Can you tell me one qualification that Steve Witkoff has?
Sure. I think the principal qualification he has is that he was appointed by the President of the United States to serve in this capacity. And just like George Washington had numerous special envoys and special assistants, some were his personal attorneys that he, enlisted to do certain tasks for him because he knew that's what you needed. Every president has the ability to add these people to their repertoire, to their arsenal, if you will, more arrows in their quiver. And that's the number one thing he needs is to have that qualification that he's been chosen by the president to do the job. And I think he's been doing well, getting people to the table, setting. I think his job is one of setting the table and getting things done to bring it to Secretary Rubio for the yes, no, maybe so, talk to the president, get it done. And it seems to be effective. So my hope is that he'll continue to do it and that we'll actually get some peace here. Michael in Houston, KSEV, thank you for the call, sir. Let's see. Who else is on the Pendejo hotline tonight? All right. Or, the great Americans calling in for Open Phone America. Let's see here. Who's next? Tom, Springfield, Illinois, WLS. Go right ahead.
Tim?
Tim.
Hello?
Forgive me, Tim. Sorry about that. Tim in Springfield.
Oh, that's all right. I get that all the time.
They call me Rick all the time. I know how it feels. Go ahead.
My friends and I have been having a lot of discussions about things, and one of them pointed something out to me that they can't trust America. Around the world, they don't trust America because we got Ukraine to give up their nukes, promising that we would protect them.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Yeah.
And so, twice.
Yeah.
Obama.
Well, I look at it this way. There's this is politics 101, I feel. If someone were to tell you, if someone were to bring you a video and say, the Americans These people are communists. They can't be trusted. And they bring you a video of AOC, of Mamdani, of Elizabeth Warren. And then they say, and Trump's doing nothing to stop these people. He's just like them. It's very easy to sell that story. Now, it's all propaganda. It's all lies. I think everybody with eyes can see Trump doesn't stand for that. And those people are not in the mainstream and the majority. But it's true that we signed the Budapest Memorandum of Security Assurances, getting Ukraine to give up their nukes. And we promised them this these security assurances, along with, I think, UK was a part of that deal. And we reneged, right? We Obama was probably the first one doing a lot of the reneging, in that he was like, sure, we'll help you. We're going to send you blankets and aid. He didn't send them bombs. He didn't send them missiles. He didn't give them something to scare off Putin. So what did Putin do in 2014? He went and he took Crimea, and nobody did anything about it. So now Putin is emboldened. He's got, he took over a new bloc, and he loves it. Then comes in President Trump. Nobody takes anything from Ukraine. Why? He's a little bit more of a hothead, I think the international community sees him as. So the point I'm making is, and he's not a hothead, as we can tell, he's just serious. And he's not about to cede territory anyway, anyhow. But what's interesting is this. We can paint with a broad brush and say the Americans can't be trusted. It's my opinion that Americans, not the U.S. government per se, but individuals within the U.S. government, that I'm going to use the term administrative state, deep state, shadow government, whatever and what have you, they are the ones that were responsible for the Maidan Square uprising that destabilized Ukraine, because they didn't like who was running Ukraine. They wanted a different gangster running Ukraine, so they switched things around. And we saw that with Joe Biden when he was vice president, out there saying things like, hey, if you don't get rid of your prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion in loan guarantees, right? That's straight up corruption. And we saw that happen. So I think you're right that people are cautious in looking at Americans, but they can't paint us all with the same brush. Tim, thank you for the call. Shout out to WLS. I'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Let's go to Kevin, Birmingham, Alabama, KZRR. Go right ahead quickly.
Hi, this is my fourth time calling in. Do you have any listeners?
Yeah, we have lots of listeners. We've got Arbitron and Nielsen say about 6 million weekly listeners. But anyway, what do you want to know? Do you have any other questions for me? You can ask me about a size of something, because I'm not into that type of thing, Kevin. It's not that kind of show. Have a good night, sir. Leo, Front Royal, Virginia, WMAL. And that guy didn't get on 4 times.
Trump, he's a bit of a genius, kind of like Jesus reaching out to save Judas. But he's willing to reach out to Putin, who's like Judas, and get the message accomplished both at the same time.
Thank you very much. Amen to that, brother. I appreciate the call. Kathy, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, KDKA. Go for it.
Well, I'm very green at this, Rick, but I appreciate you, or Rich, rather. Appreciate you taking the call.
Kathy, I'm sorry. The music is playing. I spent so much time arguing with the Trump haters that we've run out of time. But if you're able to stick around, carry over to the next hour. I do appreciate your call. Amigos, thank you for the calls. We're going to continue this conversation straight ahead with you all, the American people. 833-482-5337. And we're going to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's coming up next as well. Don't go anywhere, folks. I'm Rich Valdez. I'm just getting started.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Happy Friday to everybody. We are live and national, 7 minutes past the top of the hour, and I'm looking forward to continuing our late night national town hall conversation with you all, we the people. Lots of people weighing in tonight, some with not that much to say, others with a lot to say. Either way, I want to hear what you have to say. Give me a call, 833-4-VALDEZ. And President Trump, again, historic meeting in Anchorage, Alaska today with a impressive show of force. Stealth bombers in the air. Putin breaks his neck looking at it, skips a beat, almost trips and falls from what I saw. He kind of stumbled a bit as he was about to go up the stairs to the stage. And, and President Trump, of course, taking it all in stride, like, oh, yeah. All in a day's work here, with the stealth bombers. But very, very good, I think, progress, in my opinion, from the sense that we're getting. Some people are just upset that President Trump is trying to help the Ukrainians achieve peace with Russia. I don't know why, but they are. And that's their prerogative. And if you guys want to call, you're always welcome. I give you all the rope you want to hang yourselves. Eventually, the court of public opinion, the people that listen to this program, they see you for who you are. So anyway, we're going to get to your calls and a lot more this hour. I want to talk about a couple things. On Fridays I like to do some entertainment topics. And 35 years ago, there was a movie about these Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half Shell. And I loved that stuff growing up. It was great. I remember seeing it in the theater with my dad. And it was cool. It was a cool thing. And I was a teenager by that time, but it was one of those things I loved doing with my dad. We would go to the movies. And I twisted his arm to say, I saw Transformers with my dad. I saw a lot of good movies with my dad. But anyway, point is, we're going to talk with one of the actresses from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Very obscure role, a little itty-bitty part, but that became a thing. Everybody wanting to know who this girl was and where she came from and yada, yada, yada. And the internet found her, and so have we. So we'll be revealing who the bubblegum girl is in that famous scene when they're in the pool hall and she blows that huge bubble. We're going to let you know who that is and in a little bit and find out what she's all about. Also, we're going to continue talking about the summit, right? The big summit. But there's other news, and I'm going to get to some of that as well because a lot happening in the world today. Nancy Pelosi is off her rocker like usual, but today or yesterday she was at an event and in San Francisco, and she says that it's Trump that doesn't know what's going on, and he's messed up the safety in our streets. I'm thinking Trump's just been here for just 6 months or 7. Where's she getting this one from? Listen to this.
The president is inept. He's totally inept. He's incompetent. He hasn't. We all want to handle the immigration issue. He hasn't handled it well. Safety in our streets. He hasn't handled it well. You name any subject, and he has been inept. Whether it's health care, whether it's Medicare, whether it's Medicaid, he's been totally inept. I assume he'll be inept again if his performance in the past is any indication.
Talking about performance in the past, right? What is it they say when you buy stocks? Past performance is not an indicator of future results. Nancy Pelosi should be thanking Trump because I'm sure her portfolio went up a whole bunch because of Trump, right? Trump's policies have done a whole lot for the U.S. Treasury, and I find it remarkable that she trashes him, but yet she's probably like, keep going, because she does well every time the market rebounds. And nobody here is going to tell me Nancy Pelosi doesn't have a nice crypto wallet somewhere. She's sitting on some crypto, and when that stuff blows up because it's finally going to be recognized by a government, just like it did, Bitcoin did in El Salvador, we're going to see more of that. And whoever's got the crypto and they got it early and they got it cheap is going to ride that wave. And some of them, there's been a lot of talk. We've talked about it on this program with several experts or people at least are really knowledgeable on it. If you're moving money across state lines, including Bitcoin, there are other tokens that are going to be used. One that's widely speculated to be used will be XRP. XRP is the cross-border token, and it's cheap, right? I think it fluctuates between under $2 and maybe a little more than $3, and I can't imagine it staying at that level if, in fact, it does become the token of choice to do the cross-border transfers in a more robust economy and economic system that uses crypto that much more in the years to come. So it would make sense to get in on the ground floor now. Now, I'm not giving you advice. I'm sharing with you my observations that I think that just one example that I'm making is one that will do really, really well. I think Bitcoin is also going to continue to do well. I don't think it's going anywhere for the time being, and maybe even forever. I mean, it's now referred to as digital gold, and why? Because gold has, gold might fluctuate a bit, at that little up and down on the pie chart there. I mean, on the graph, but ultimately it just goes up, up, and up. So anyway, by the way, we're going to have a conversation on crypto with somebody who's got a coin, a crypto coin, a token that is backed by real-world assets, in particular infrastructure in South Africa. Last week, I had to make a repair, some maintenance on my daughter's car that required me to go to the dealer and get a part and have the mechanic put it in. And while I was there, he introduced me to somebody I was literally walking outside that he knew. And this guy turns out to be the economic advisor to the king of the now exiled kingdom of Ndebele, Matabele. It's an African tribe that was in Zimbabwe and in South Africa that stems from Zulu, from the Zulu nation, which the king back in the day was Shaka Zulu. And we had a whole discussion with this man about, their story. And he said, they refer to themselves as the Black Jews because they've been in the desert for 40 years trying to take back their land, their kingdom. And he said it's similar to the Jews making their exile and then their return to Judea and Samaria. And I just thought it was very, very interesting, the conversation, and invited him on. And we're going to have a conversation with him on Monday, the economic advisor to the king of the Matabele kingdom. So, crypto's a piece of that, interestingly enough, right? Crypto's a piece of everything nowadays. So keep your eyes and ears open for that this coming Monday after the weekend. But today we're talking about El Trompito. We're talking about what's going on in America. And Gavin Newsom, yesterday we were talking about this a little bit with one of our callers, deciding to go ahead and, in the name of we the people, but kind of unilaterally deciding to do a ballot question on redistricting and trying to undo everything that Texas is doing without really asking the people if he should do it. And interestingly enough, I think even the Democrats, like our buddy Chris in Santa Clara, he called in saying he didn't think it was a great idea. And I think most people are not going to think it's a good idea. But Gavin Newsom was at it again today. And he says, if we don't do all of these things that he's saying, Trump is going to rig the election. Listen to this.
Wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. You will have a president who will be running for a third term. Mark my word. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I received in the mail a Trump 2028 hat from one of his biggest supporters. These guys are not screwing around. The rules do not apply to him. The most corrupt president in history. He doesn't believe in free enterprise, crony capitalism. He is wrecking this country, wrecking the economy. He's a lawless president. Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
Now, where I come from, they call this demagoguery, right? Fear-mongering. He's screaming from the rooftops. Now, have I done this? Yes. But I try to support it with fact, right? If I tell you that Mamdani is going to destroy the free market in New York City, it's because I do support the free markets. I believe in the free enterprise that Gavin Newsom says President Trump does not. What's interesting is Gavin Newsom, since his early days in his early career, he, for the most part, has been a product of working in the government. President Trump has never even served as a dog catcher. He's never been on the public payroll. Made all his money through his family's business, him expanding his family's business into the big business that it is today, redesigning the Manhattan skyline. I mean, just major contributions as a builder all over the world, right? Not to mention some of the finest golf clubs on the planet. And what has Gavin Newsom done besides break a great state like California? Not a whole lot, right? He's just good at breaking stuff. But yet he says it's Trump that doesn't believe in free enterprise. And it's crony capitalism that's wrecking the country. I don't know about you, but I don't see crony capitalism wrecking the country. Or like Bernie Sanders says, the billionaires, it's the billionaires. I don't think it's the billionaires. I really don't. I think what really ruins this country is government spending. And you've got Republicans that pretend to be fiscal hawks, and they do the spending anyway. And you've got Democrats that pretend to be Democrats that love spending every last tax dollar they can get their hands on. But it's the spending that is the most dangerous. And this is coming from somebody that supported the big spending bill because I felt like we needed to do it. But crony capitalism, to say that Trump is wrecking the country via crony capitalism, I would say it's just false. I mean, some of the biggest economic contributions to the country are coming by way of tariffs. That's not crony capitalism. That's foreign policy. And it's sound economic policy here in the United States, domestically, when it comes to our imports. So I don't know. I have to take exception here on everything he's saying. Then one of his biggest supporters wearing a 2028 hat. Oh my goodness. Start quaking in your boots. Don't be scared. I mean, really, come on. This is one of the dumbest things I've heard Newsom say. And this, to me, he's desperate. He's desperate. He doesn't want to run far to the left, so he's going on the attack mode. Anyway, we're going to talk about this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff with our guest. She's also a mental health advocate, and she's written a couple of books. Aesha Waks will be joining us, and I'm looking forward to that conversation, as well as your calls, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, America, welcome back. And every now and again, I like to let my hair down and get into some entertainment topics. And there's a lot going on right here in NYC. And our guest today, Aesha Waks, she's an actress. She does a lot of things. She's an advocate for mental health and so much more. Aesha, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Hi, guys.
So talk to us about today's the opening day of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's hitting theaters. Talk to us about your involvement and a little bit about that project.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I haven't really spoken about this before today, so this is exciting for me too.
Scoop.
So someone rediscovered me. I had absolutely no idea that anyone was looking for the bubblegum girl forever. And it was news to me. And my friend just said to me, "That's you." And I'm like, oh my God. I've never like seen the picture. I'm like, what are these fan pages? And I started reading the comments and I'm like, people have been searching for me? What? But the thing that's so scary is because I was such a little girl at that time, I don't remember anything. And you know what? No one's ever stood up and claimed the role. And I'm gathering my memories and I'm like, oh my God, I think that was me. So I started asking casting directors, agents, and I'm like, was this me? And they're all like, yeah. And I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me anyone was searching for me?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like kind of crazy to me that this is going on. And instead of, this is so politically incorrect, but instead of getting D pictures in my DMs now, I get guys blowing bubble gum. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
That's terrific. So you're famous, the bubblegum girl. Now, talk to us about how you ended up in this world of entertainment.
So it started with having a guest appearance on Romper Room and singing the national anthem at Shea Stadium for the Mets as a kid. And my mom, God rest her soul, she passed away. She was like, why are you so comfortable? Like, it's weird. Like, why aren't you camera shy? You're so shy in real life. And I said, I love it. I love it. My best moment was right before I walked on. And she's like, there's something up with my daughter. And during the time, I was having a lot of social issues in school. The popular girl in school kind of took me under her wing, and I didn't understand what's popular, what's not popular. Everyone would talk to me. I had the best table in the house, the best seat on the bus. And, after years, I guess, because I was so shy, my character started coming out. And maybe I wasn't as sub as I appeared. Like, I kind of came off like alpha, heads started butting, and I ended up being outcast. So I spent many years in solitude and isolation. And that's when I decided to come up with a film production company with the kids in my neighborhood. And I started making my own films, and it started kind of becoming professional at that point and getting into SAG and everything. And
what's that road been like for you?
Very isolating, and a lot of highs and a lot of lows and hardships. I was bartending at the time, and I got into kind of personal training, and I realized, you know what? I want to do something more fulfilling when I'm not on film sets and modeling and making music, and I decided to become a mental health advocate. And I just actually recently went from provisional to becoming actually certified to take this on through lived experience. And I spend most of my time when I'm not doing my creative stuff advocating for people's mental health.
Talk to us about that. What does that look like in your day-to-day?
So it could be in person, it could be remote on the phone. It depends if someone needs physical support to accompany them somewhere and speak on their behalf, or it could mean giving sort of like a mental health listening session, being emotionally present and coming up with action plans to better their lives. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah, I bet. I can't imagine how helping people wouldn't be fulfilling.
Yeah.
Folks, we're on with Aesha Waks, and we're going to continue the conversation straight ahead, and we're going to talk a little bit about her roots in New York City, as well as what she thinks of New York City, what's going on. There's a lot of problems in New York City. It's a great town, but there's a lot of problems. Keep it locked right here. We're coming right back.
Now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Keeping you company all night long. It's me, Rich Valdez. And remember, if you want to join the national conversation here, late night live and national, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I want to continue our conversation with Aesha Waks. Aesha, you talked to us about your upbringing in the city and your career early on in entertainment. Talk to us about what it was like. I was born in Brooklyn too, so I know that it's a very unique experience. Nice. You know, when you meet other people, you're like, oh, you get it, but not everybody else gets it, right? It makes you kind of different, I think, but in a good way. Yeah. And talk to us about, you as a kid and what that looks like today, the New York that you see today.
I was kind of pretty much always the same person. I was always mature beyond my age. And I think that my parents raised me to be a really nice person. It was a very hippie household. And I don't remember getting punished more than once in my whole life. My parents were really supportive of me. I was actually a cage dancer at the Limelight in the Palladium when I was a kid.
Wow, that's crazy.
My mom chaperoned me and signed waivers for me to dance in the cage. I was making enough money as a kid to pay for Broadway dance school and all my ballet and hip hop classes.
Wow,
by myself.
That's a story you don't hear every day.
I went to LaGuardia High School.
Fame.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was actually told at LaGuardia and Mark Twain Junior High School after my auditions that I was the first of the list and that I immediately got in right after the audition to both schools. So I didn't have to wait all summer to find out that I was going to be in performing arts. And once I actually got into the schools, I would cut class a lot. Okay, so I was like, you were asking me about my childhood. I was like really rebellious. I was leaving school. I was going on tour with the Mad Stuntman as a dancer around the world, underage again. And I started with music and poetry and hip hop at a really young age. Actually, right now, I'm working on my album called Memoirs of an Aesha because I want to thank you. I want to take some of my older music and kind of release it for the first time, but like saying I did this a long time ago, and it's like so high tech that it sounds like it.
Talk to us about the genre and who you're targeting with the album.
So I want to target anyone that feels different. I kind of want to merge all outcasts. So that doesn't have to be any kind of gender, sexual preference, political preference. It's just people that want to fit in with a bunch of other people that are different that'll never fit in with each other. That's kind of like a horde of black sheep.
It sounds like New York City.
Yeah.
Speaking of New York City, I want to get your take on not so much the politics, but more the problems. You know, growing up in Brooklyn, moving to Queens, going to public school here. Clearly, you've seen the evolution of the city. You've seen it from probably its worst, if you were at Limelight, to its best, I think, during Giuliani, and to where we are now, which is kind of going backwards. Your thoughts?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say shout out to Tommy Louie for introducing me to you, and Curtis Silva, who I'm definitely in support of. I really think he would do a lot to help protect and bring the city back to what it was.
Yeah.
With that being said, as a former club kid, I kind of really miss the scene. I kind of miss going out and finding an eclectic group of artists to just spend my night with. You go out now and it's sort of like not like that, and the scene always kind of moves around. I mean, there are some impresarios that always have something cool going on, like shout out to Narcon, etc. But I mean, just to have that community that we used to have in the club life, that I don't feel is there anymore, and I'm so sad about that. And I think two major issues, and I'm a huge advocate for artists, is rent stabilized or sliding scale apartments. Like, could do a huge movie and be willing to pay more, but what if you're kind of out of work and doing your humble work? The money isn't coming in as much. Like, who's looking for us artists? New York is about art. I mean, primarily, amongst a lot of other things.
I think economic opportunity is always important, and the most important thing is to create more of them, right?
Yeah.
Artists wouldn't have to struggle if they had more opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think it always comes back to that. But you mentioned something interesting about Curtis and clubs. He was sitting in this chair a couple of weeks ago, and we were having a conversation about clubs. And I said, when I was a kid, there was Palladium and Limelight and the Tunnel and Exit.
Yes.
And I couldn't name a single big club in New York City today. Because I think not even like One Oak. It's just
no.
Like, it's not
Richie
even
Kiva, right?
Yeah, right. There's just not a big thing like that, and it was in response to Mayor Eric Adams saying something about he had gone to the strip club in Miami, and I was saying, I understand how that goes, but we don't even have that here, right? There's no more iconic New York club. And my point to Curtis was there's an economic impact that comes with having these clubs. People that come from all over the place to go to this nightclub and spend money, and maybe even come from other countries to spend a week here and hit all the clubs. And that, I feel, is missing from New York City, because New York City is a cultural mecca in the world, but yet it hasn't been. And I think in large part because of COVID, as well as because of crime,
right,
and because of economic economic opportunities. It was cheaper, I think, back in the days to rent out a warehouse and start a place like the Tunnel. You can't now. The rents are really high, and people aren't going to make as much money because people aren't making as much money. So you look at that, and you have this candidate, Mamdani, who's talking about all these great things, that everything's going to be free, but there's no money to provide these things for free, right? It would bankrupt the government and take all our tax dollars. So Curtis and I were talking about this, making clubbing great again in New York City. And I think that would be an interesting thing, and not for the fun of it, but because of how it, what it means to New York. What do you think?
I would love that. I know that there are more serious things going on in the world, but I want to enjoy my life also.
Who doesn't like a good party?
Yeah. I want to also say that being from Queens, and I know Curtis is the biggest advocate to make subways safe, and I hope that happens again too, but what about 24-hour buses, the run to the boroughs? What if a nice club does open in Manhattan and I want to stay out until 3 o'clock in the morning? How am I supposed to get home and feel safe?
Yeah, well, it's hard to feel safe in New York City. Aesha Waks, let everybody know where they can get Memoir of an Aesha.
Okay, so the best thing to do is follow me at Aesha Waks, and that's on Instagram, AESHA_HASHWAKS. I post links to my music, my books, and everything else I do. That's kind of my hobby. I kind of shut down my website, and I'm just using that. AES as in Sam, HA, then it's HASH, then it's WAKS. And if you do write in the DMs, friends of Rich Valdez, I'll immediately follow you back. So it'll be fair.
All right, amigos, that's Aesha Waks. Check her out. The Bubblegum Girl. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
The president of our great country, sir, how are you?
Thank you very much.
We're glad you could be here.
Thank you.
So you said before the interview, you said, in 2 minutes, I will know. I watched very closely when you met him on the red carpet after both your planes landed. What vibe did you get in 2 minutes?
Well, I always had a great relationship with President Putin, and we would have done great things together in terms of, their land is incredible. The rare earth, the oil, gas, everything, it's incredible. It's the largest piece of land in the world as a nation by far. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. That's big stuff. But we would have done a lot of great things, but we had the Russia hoax.
That, of course, El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th president of these United States, and doing a post-mortem interview with Sean Hannity on the Fox News channel about an hour ago. And I want to get your thoughts and reactions on everything that's going on in America tonight. Let's see. Where do we go? I want to go to Jake in St. Cloud, Minnesota, KNSI. Go right ahead.
Oh, hey, Rich. Thanks for having me tonight. Personally, I feel like the pageantry. I feel like this deal has already been made, and we just have to wait for the news to catch up. If you've noticed, since the day Trump's been in office, it's been a firestorm of all these things that are happening all the time. Everything is happening so quick. You can't even get a story out before there's another story. And and one of his main things that he ran on was getting this thing done. So I feel like he's been talking to Putin. They already have it. They already have a deal going on, and if Ukraine gets in the way, he's going to be like, shut up, little boy, this is what we're doing.
Well, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. I think each of them has a plan in place, and I think each of their plans matches up, right? I think President Trump's goal here, again, is to make peace, right? He's trying to score a deal that is going to be difficult, but he's creating leverage in order to do it. So I think Putin's now finally listening because we're hitting him financially. And I think he doesn't want to continue more of a financial fight with the United States because it doesn't behoove him. The United States is positioning itself to do better financially, right? And mainly through tariffs and also through making the United States the crypto capital of the world. And that is a diametric opposition to Putin and his involvement in the BRICS consortium for their currency group. So this is, I think, a wake-up call for Putin where he says, you know what, I have a chance to make peace here with this guy. There's not many presidents that would have the balls to actually meet with me and do it on U.S. soil, and he's jumping at the opportunity to do it. And I think that's why he looked like a kid in a candy store. So I agree with you that there's a lot of pageantry involved, but ultimately they might have their minds made up, but I think you still have to get Zelensky on board, and it is the government. And while Trump runs a super tight ship, and that's why you're seeing things move so quickly, it's still the government, and things have to kind of, take their course. Jake in St. Cloud, thank you for your call, brother. Shout out to KNSI. Let us continue here. Tommy, Charleston, West Virginia, WCHS. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Valdez.
Pleasure.
I'm a non-Trumpite, okay? And yet I want to tip my cap to him here. Everybody is jumping to all sorts of conclusions because they want to demonize Putin. Done, okay? But that doesn't mean you can't talk to him. And right. Trump is doing that. So he's going to try and find out what does Putin want from Ukraine, and then hopefully get them to sit down and talk about what Ukraine wants from Putin, Russia. And I think that Trump has played his cards as well as he could. He muddies the waters by that I'll solve the problem in one day, braggadocio stuff. Forget that.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
forget that.
I look at it this way. I don't know who, besides maybe my buddy Jerome in Charleston, South Carolina, I don't know who takes that seriously. When you say things like that, he's at the end of the day. I heard President Obama say, "If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor." Nobody kept their doctor, right? So I take everything with a grain of salt. You hear something 24 hours. I worked in the government. Nothing happens in 24 hours. So I guess perhaps I didn't take that seriously to begin with, but I understood the message behind it. We're going to work hard. Day one, we're tackling this thing. And and I think you make solid points on all the other fronts. Tommy in Charleston, West Virginia. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Always good to talk to a New York transplant in West Virginia. And let me see. I'm going to go until they make me take the break. Let me see. Who's next? Paul, Zanesville, Ohio, WHIZ. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Rich. Yeah, and kudos to Donald Trump. I think a few of your callers may have that, Trump derangement syndrome? I think
yes.
Some may have that.
It's spreading like a pandemic.
Yeah, I'm telling you. But wasn't it Ronald Reagan who was once pegged the great peacemaker or something? And
yeah, the great communicator.
I see this. Communicator, yes. And I see the same thing in Donald Trump. And these people calling in are saying, like you say, what are you expecting to do? He's doing all he can. You want all-out war? Do you want these people to keep killing each other?
100%.
Biden didn't do crap. Yeah, Biden didn't do crap, man. He sent him some weapons.
Right. No, you're right, Paul. He didn't do anything except pour fuel on the fire. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. Paul in Zanesville, Ohio, WHIZ. Thank you, sir. Happy weekend to you. And let's see, where do we go? One more. Mike, Fort Worth, Texas, KLIF. Go right ahead, sir.
Hello, Mr. Rich Valdez with an S. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
The steward and the Bobby guy. Bobby was from Dallas, and it's funny because I have a stepdaughter and a son-in-law in Dallas County, and they are two self-described frustrated atheists, and they always buy the Democrat signs to put in their yard. I call it trash, but anyway. It's amazing to me that they can call you you're a cultist and you're in a cult, but yet when Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and old Barry Dunham, which most of us know as Barack Obama, go tell Biden he's out, and then he comes out and flips him the bird and says, "Okay, well then Kamala's in."
Right. And no primary. Nothing.
Whatever happened, I don't know. And Chuck Schumer comes out and says, the process has been completed. We now have a presidential candidate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, Mike. It's absolutely wild how they talk about the attack on democracy and they forego democracy at every step of the way. It really is wild, but Godspeed to you and your family. I hope things work out well with the atheists amongst us. I'll keep them in my prayers. And amigos, we're coming right back with the rest of your calls. Texas, Alabama, Arkansas, South Carolina, Canada. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Let's go to Bill Coleman, Alabama, WZRR. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I messed up. My bad.
That's it. You're forgiven. Go ahead.
I wanted to pick your brain about a couple. First of all, I really enjoy your show. I just want you to know I stay up late just to listen to your show, and I really enjoy it. But I wanted to talk to you about the whole Putin and Trump meeting today, and get your thoughts behind it. I'll be right out. Unlike some of the previous callers, I'm a very diehard Trump supporter. Do I think he's perfect? Well, of course not. There's only been one perfect person, and he's not here on Earth. He's not an earthly person. So,
right. Well, Bill, here's what I think. I think moving forward, you're going to see Trump do everything he can to motivate each of these people to go in the direction of peace. He's doing it with Putin through the threat of more sanctions and I think really stealing his oil business and doing it in Alaska to show him, hey, look, these other guys were afraid to drill. I'm Mr. Drill, baby, drill. And if I'll do whatever I got to do to steal your oil business if you keep playing games. And I hope that's enough to get Russia at the table. Now we got to get Zelensky to the table. We'll see how that goes. I want to give a shout out to Joe in Salem, Arkansas, Eric in Bryan, Texas, WTAW, KSAR, Jerome, South Carolina, WTMA, Tony in Montreal, listening on WVMT, and the rest of our amigos. God bless you, America. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. I'm Rich Valdez.